There is a common belief that if you give enough love, enough kindness, even to those who hurt you, they will change. But let me share a truth with you. Being nicer won't change a narcissist, not because kindness is weak, but because some people are not ready to receive it. There is a natural impulse within many of us to respond to cruelty with kindness, to meet manipulation with understanding, and to soften the sharp edges of others with our gentleness. This is a noble intention. It reflects a deep-rooted belief that if we love someone enough, if we give them patience, attention, and warmth, they will change. But this belief can become a prison when applied to those who feed off the very energy we are trying to offer as healing. A narcissist does not interpret kindness the way a balanced person would. Where you see compassion, they see opportunity. Where you offer vulnerability, they see access. And where you choose forgiveness, they often see permission to continue their behavior. This is not because kindness has failed, but because it has been misread, misunderstood, and misused. If you throw seeds on barren rock, they do not grow. The fault is not in the seed, it is in the ground. When you are dealing with someone who is deeply self-centered, who refuses to reflect on their own actions, or who thrives on controlling others emotionally, your goodness becomes fuel for their ego, not a mirror for their conscience. It is not that they cannot change, it is that they do not want to, and your kindness will not make them want to. There is a lesson here that is difficult, but necessary. You are not responsible for another person's transformation, especially when they have no desire to change. Your role is not to keep giving more of yourself in the hopes that one day they will awaken to the harm they cause. In this dynamic, your giving becomes a kind of silent suffering. It becomes a cycle where the more you try to heal, the more you are hurt. When dealing with someone who cannot see beyond their own reflection, the solution is not to be nicer, it is to be wiser, to recognize that not everyone speaks the same emotional language. Some people only hear what serves them. And in those cases, your silence may speak louder than your compassion ever could. True strength lies not in how much pain you can endure for others, but in how clearly you can see the situation for what it is. To accept that your kindness will not shift someone who is rooted in selfishness is not giving up, it is waking up. And in that awakening, you do not become cold or bitter, you become discerning. You begin to guard your energy not from fear, but from understanding. The heart is a powerful force, but even it must learn to recognize when it is being drained instead of valued. To protect your peace is not selfish, it is sacred. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Compassion is one of the highest expressions of the human spirit. It is the willingness to understand, to forgive, and to hold space for the pain of others. But compassion alone is not enough. Without wisdom to guide it, compassion can become dangerous, not to others, but to yourself. There is a story told often in the East. A man sees a scorpion drowning in the river. He reaches out to save it, and the scorpion stings him. His hand recoils in pain, but again, he tries to save it. Again, the scorpion stings. A passerby sees this and says, "Why do you keep trying to save something that keeps hurting you?" The man replies, "Because to help is my nature, and to sting is his. I will not let his nature change mine." This story is used to teach compassion, yes, but too often it is misunderstood. The deeper lesson is not about letting yourself be stung endlessly. The wise man, while still compassionate, would find a stick or a leaf to lift the scorpion, helping it without harming himself. That is the balance between heart and mind. Many people confuse endurance with virtue. They stay in situations that drain them with people who disrespect them, believing that their suffering is a sign of their goodness. But suffering without direction is not growth. It is a slow erosion of self. Compassion is not about allowing others to hurt you without consequence. It is about choosing to act from love, but with intelligence. Wisdom is what gives shape to compassion. Without it, we give and give until we are empty. We forgive so easily that we begin to excuse harmful patterns. We tolerate disrespect, thinking it makes us noble. But true nobility is not found in how much we can endure from others. It is found in how clearly we can see what serves our higher self and what does not. To walk away from someone who constantly hurts you does not mean your compassion has failed. It means your wisdom has awakened. When you combine compassion with discernment, you become steady like the mountain. You are not swayed by guilt or manipulation. You do not close your heart, but you no longer allow it to be used as a weapon against you. In the world, there will always be those who confuse your kindness with weakness, who see your patience as permission. But when your compassion is guided by wisdom, you remain rooted. You help others when they are ready to receive help. You forgive without forgetting. You let go not in anger, but in peace. This is the way of inner mastery, a heart that feels deeply, but a mind that sees clearly. One without the other creates imbalance. But together, they create a person who can love with strength and walk away with serenity. There is a moment in every journey when one must stop looking outward and begin the true work looking inward. When dealing with someone who constantly manipulates, blames, or controls, the natural instinct is to try harder, give more, explain yourself better. But this path leads only to exhaustion, because no matter how much effort you invest in trying to change another, transformation cannot begin there. It begins with you. Clarity is the beginning of freedom. When the fog of emotional entanglement lifts, what remains is the truth, silent, simple, undeniable. You see that the person you've been trying to please does not want understanding. They want power. You see that your efforts to bring peace only feed their need for control. And in this realization, something powerful is born, the return of your inner strength. Many people give their power away not by choice, but by habit. They believe that by being accommodating, they are keeping peace. But peace bought through silence is not peace. It is suppression. And suppression eventually leads to suffering. The true peace comes when you recognize your own worth, when you stop negotiating your value in exchange for temporary approval. Taking back your power is not a loud act. It is not shouting, blaming, or punishing. It is quiet, like the moment a lake stops being disturbed and the reflection becomes clear. It is the moment you stop explaining your feelings to someone who has no intention of listening. It is the moment you stop participating in the emotional game, not because you are cold, but because you are done. To reclaim your power means to take responsibility, not for others, but for yourself, for how you respond, for how long you stay in situations that dishonor your spirit, for the energy you give and the boundaries you fail to set. Responsibility is not blame, it is awareness. And awareness brings choice. When you stop trying to fix the narcissist, something shifts. You begin to notice how often you have abandoned yourself in the process. You realize that your well-being was never meant to be sacrificed for someone else's ego. And from that place of seeing, a new way of being emerges. This is not an act of ego. It is an act of respect for yourself. It is understanding that your inner world deserves the same care you give so freely to others. That you can love people without letting them harm you. That you can be kind without being controlled. That your silence can be louder than your arguments and your absence more powerful than your presence. The journey of reclaiming your power is not easy. It requires honesty. It requires letting go of illusions. But what you gain is priceless: a clear mind, a steady heart, and the strength to walk your path without fear. When clarity enters, confusion leaves. And with it, the chains of manipulation fall away. There is a deep misunderstanding in the way people often view kindness. Many believe that to be kind means to always be available, always say yes, always forgive, always tolerate. But this is not true kindness. It is a kindness without form, without protection. Like water with no container, it spills everywhere and nourishes nothing. To be truly kind, one must also be strong, and that strength is expressed through boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are not punishments or acts of revenge. Boundaries are clarity. They are the clear lines you draw, not to push others away, but to protect what is sacred within yourself. Just as a temple has gates to preserve its silence, your life must have boundaries to preserve your peace. Without boundaries, your kindness can be taken for granted. The more you give without limit, the more others come to expect it. Not out of malice, but out of habit, people treat you according to the energy you allow. if you constantly say yes when you mean no, if you excuse behavior that wounds you, if you allow others to cross your limits without consequence, you are teaching them that your needs do not matter. This is not humility, it is self-abandonment. True humility does not mean shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. It means knowing your value so deeply that you no longer need to prove it through sacrifice. Establishing boundaries is an act of internal discipline. It requires you to pause, to reflect, and to honor your own limits. When someone speaks to you with disrespect, it takes strength to say, "This is not how I wish to be treated." When someone constantly drains your energy, it takes courage to step back and say, "I choose peace over pleasing." These small actions are not selfish. They are sacred. Many fear setting boundaries because they worry about being seen as rude or unkind. But kindness is not about how others perceive you. It is about the intention behind your actions. A kind person with boundaries is still generous, still warm, still open, but they are not easily shaken, not easily used. Like the bamboo, you must be flexible but rooted. You bend in the wind, but you do not break. You flow with life, but you are anchored in your own truth. This is the nature of real strength, not aggression, but firmness, not hardness, but stability. The world will always test your limits. Some will push against your silence, your patience, your generosity. But you are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to live in alignment with who you are. And that means sometimes saying no, sometimes stepping back, sometimes letting go. Your energy is precious. Your mind is a garden. Guard it well. With boundaries, your kindness becomes sharper, clearer, and more powerful. It becomes something that uplifts rather than depletes. And in that, you rise, not in defiance, but in quiet, grounded self-respect. In the face of chaos, it is not always action that brings the greatest change. It is often stillness. When confronted by those who manipulate, provoke, or seek control, the instinct is to respond, to explain, to prove your truth. But this is the very reaction they crave. Each word you offer becomes material for their game. Every attempt to reason becomes an opening for them to twist your intent. The more you engage, the more power you give away. Sometimes, the most powerful move is not to fight, but to withdraw. Silence is not weakness, it is clarity. It is the refusal to add energy to what drains you. It is the discipline to observe without becoming entangled. There are people who thrive on emotional reaction, who feel powerful when they can disturb your inner peace. In such cases, your silence becomes your shield, your stillness becomes your strength. When you stop reacting, you shift the dynamic. The narcissist feeds on your energy, your attention, your validation, your confusion. The moment you choose not to respond, not to defend, not to participate, you begin to starve the pattern. You no longer play the role they assigned to you. You reclaim the script of your own life. Absence is a powerful statement. Not always physical absence, but emotional detachment. When you are no longer invested in their approval or affected by their disapproval, they lose control. You are not abandoning your values. You are simply removing your presence from where it is not respected. This is not escape, it is elevation. Stillness requires great inner strength. To remain calm in the presence of provocations is not easy. It requires awareness of your emotions, discipline of your impulses, and trust in your truth. But with practice, it becomes a natural response. Like water that settles after being stirred, your mind returns to clarity once you stop letting every disturbance ripple through you. There is a difference between being silent out of fear and choosing silence from wisdom. The first is suppression. The second is mastery. When your silence is chosen, not forced, it carries weight. It communicates more than words ever could. It says, I am no longer available for this energy. I choose peace over drama. I choose clarity over confusion. The same applies to your presence. Sometimes the most impactful thing you can do is simply walk away, not to punish, but to protect, not to hurt the other, but to honor yourself. Your absence from toxic patterns is not a loss, it is a return to yourself. In a world that often values noise, speed, and reaction, choosing silence and stillness is revolutionary. It creates space for healing, space for truth, space for transformation, and in that space, you will find something: the narcissist cannot touch your freedom. Freedom not given by anyone else, but claimed by your own awareness. Freedom not through fighting, but through letting go. And in that letting go, you discover the most powerful form of resistance: peace. True strength is often misunderstood. Many think it's about dominance, control, or force. But real strength has nothing to prove. It does not need to overpower or to convince. It resides quietly within, steady and unshakable. It is the ability to remain calm when everything around you tries to pull you into chaos. It is the discipline to feel emotion deeply without becoming a slave to it. It is the mastery of your own mind and reactions. When dealing with people who seek control, especially those with narcissistic traits, your emotions become their playground. They provoke to get a rise out of you. They twist words to confuse you. They push boundaries to see how far you'll bend. And if you do not know how to hold yourself, how to anchor yourself inwardly, you will be swept away in their storm. But when you begin to observe your thoughts instead of becoming them, when you recognize that every reaction is a choice, you take the first step toward inner mastery. The mind is like a wild horse. It must be trained, not with aggression, but with presence. When the mind is undisciplined, you are at the mercy of every insult, every mood, every manipulation. But when the mind is stable, you see clearly. You no longer respond out of habit, you respond out of awareness. Mastering your emotions does not mean suppressing them. It means not allowing them to dominate your actions. Anger may arise, but you do not become anger. Sadness may come, but you do not drown in it. You watch, you breathe, you allow, and then you choose your response. This inner control is not about building walls. It is about creating